Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason, where I believe I've got the video issues all resolved rather, and so we will be jumping into this match in high definition, hopefully, praying and hoping. I guess if you're seeing this, then it's been resolved. If you're not, then I guess it hasn't. But I'm very happy to welcome you back to the Brightworks, where today we're going to be taking a look at an extra long game, about a 50-minute long game, that was played on a map that I particularly love. Today we're going to be taking a look at a match that was played on Sector 318C, version 1.0. It is a cool map using the acid tile sets, the sort of acid lake and tentacle plants tile set. It's a very alien world, but it also feels very familiar to things that are reminiscent of things that go alien, right? Acid blood and all that sort of nonsense, not to infringe on any IP properties here, but of course it does invoke those images. And I particularly like this map, just in general for its layout. I think it's really fun to have two lanes that are imbalanced here. For the red team, it's going to be the bottom lane that is more powerful, has an advantage. And for the blue team, it's going to be the northern side, of course. It also means that this midsection tends to be a blast because it can really go either way based on which lane wins and how they support their teammates. There's also a lot of comeback potential based on how teammates interact with each other, and that team play is critical. So it should be a lot of fun here. But we'll zoom back on in here and meet our team leaders, because today, spawning as our blue team leader, as an Armada commander, it's going to be none other than Roosley. Roosley clocking in at 24 open skill, going to be showing us some good old-fashioned Armada gaming, going for those vehicles off rip, and I think that's not a bad idea, as we do have a gigantic, flat, open, middle-of-the-map terrain to try and contest right here, and those vehicles will do a wonderful job of that. You can get a little bit choke pointy here, though, so certainly those medium tanks have to be careful how they maneuver, but once you get up to 5 or 6 of those Janus, and as long as you micro them well, they can be very difficult to break through, especially on these big, flat, open terrains. So it should be cool to see here. Roosley going to be our blue team leader. Spawning the other side, spawning on the weak lane for the red team. It's going to be our red team leader. Actually marching forward already, it's Pubis. Yes, Pubis at 23 open skill with a fantastic name and 3 chevrons to boot. An American hero, if ever there was one, standing AFK in the backline here as we do send a whole bunch of these grunts forward to guard the front line. Now, Pubis, whether they know it or not, is on the weaker lane for this map. This is a lane that typically has a lot of issues with run-bys, for instance, like the purple commander Kylie is going for here as well, as also just the fact that you're a little bit down on resources. You spawn with fewer mechs than the blue team does overall on this side. It's also much easier for the blue team to put multi-dimensional pressure on you, which sounds very fancy, but all it is to say is that it's very easy for these two teams basically to pork this side, and then the purple commander sends forces up here, and then they can of course swarm through this northern side. That's what we see the pros do all the time. Whether or not we'll see it in this game, I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. Pawn in the backline does manage to kill a metal extractor. Looks like it might get a solar panel for its troubles as well. At the very least, closing some of those up and making it a little bit awkward for the orange commander, who does now stall a little bit harder on energy here. Yeah, down 40 energy per second. It's not the end of the world, but it hurts. But the double metal extractors down definitely hurts a little bit more here. The pawn not dealt with either. We do have the blitz. It will eventually move forward. Beluga the narwhal. Gonna try and clean up this backline here. LLT putting in some work here. Okay. Yeah, not bad. Pawn micro just within range of the LLT will eventually fall. Okay. Obviously, a nice start right here for the purple commander. Doesn't necessarily mean this game is over, but it is wonderful to get a little bit of damage early on, especially against a vehicle commander, right? You imagine trading out one of these blitzes for 2 mixes is not necessarily as great of a trade as trading out just one of those pawns, not to mention, of course, shutting off the energy for a little while. It's a much more efficient trade for the bot commander than it is for the vehicle commander, but of course that comes with the condition that Kylie now has to be very wary of these blitzes as they come across the map, because just number by number basis, they are much more powerful than the pawns are one-to-one. That's why a swarm is necessary. We've got quite a few pawns on the front line here, but we are struggling to produce any more. We have some constructors coming up in the back line, and hopefully we see reinforcements making their way forward. Not enough pawns right now for our purple hero to hold this front line, at least not on their own. Pathfinder going up against Podoko, the hot pink versus the cyan blue. Tick streaming forward here in a suicidal sprint directly towards the hot pink commander, who's going to be reclaiming some of those tentacle plants, gas bag plants actually, I think technically. What are they called? Yeah, gas bag trees. We have tentacle plants and gas bag trees on this map. It is a strange one. A very, very strange one, but certainly a fun and interesting one, to say the very least. Here we go. This is exactly what I was looking for. You can see the blue commander realizes, hey, wait a second, it looks like the maroon com Ugolov is just going to be going ahead and sending or spending rather, all their metal on static defenses for the front line. They're E-stalling quite badly as well. It means that I can just go ahead and send my units down through the southern lane here, just slightly to the southern side, and Podoko is suddenly going to have to deal with quite a few blitzes marching in. That beautiful high-stepping thug marching forward. There were some complaints that the thug lost a bit of personality. Frankly speaking, I think it gained a lot of personality in this update. It sort of looks like, I mean, it looks rigid, but that's by design, right? I mean, it's designed to be this machine of war that's heavily armored, basically only moves in very specific ways. The old thug kind of, it did like a figure 8 with its barrels, which felt very... It just felt a little bit loose for what the thug is designed for, right? It's designed to be this heavy bashing unit that doesn't really have much flexibility to it. I think this thug definitely communicates that, visually speaking anyways, a little bit better. Obviously, numerically, the thugs haven't changed, or at least I don't believe they've changed at all. There might be some slight adjustments with the positioning of the weapons and where they fire from and such like that, but altogether, it shouldn't really be a giant nerf or buff. Oh, HLT coming up here, okay. Pathfinder going into a HLT. This can work, but only against bots. Now, it is the right composition. We do have the Hot Pink Commander, Podoko, going into bots, but we need to see build power before the HLT. That's really the crux of this here. What you do is you build a build turret, and then you build the HLT, and then you build another build turret, and you basically leapfrog one after another. So you build a con turret, another HLT, a con turret, another HLT, and then as you build HLTs forward, you deconstruct the ones in the back here to slowly creep that tower forward. And then you also have build power on the front. You can go ahead and slap down a laboratory and move your production to the front too. But the nice thing is it saves you metal, because you're effectively not spending any. You just spend the metal on the HLTs, and then after that you're leapfrogging them, so the metal doesn't really go anywhere. It can be very effective, but again, only against vehicle players. Now, again, this is the right composition, but my goodness, we need to stop throwing these units away. Breaking my heart to see Pathfinder throwing these units away. Let's check in on somewhere else on the map, so that we don't have to cry about it. A couple of aggravators stepping their way up towards the high ground here, escorting the grunts rather, escorting the aggravators. Thugs more than happy to fire away into the distance, though. I love that big central eye that they have as well. Definitely communicating that Cortex simplicity. Power through simplicity, right? Don't overcomplicate it. If it needs an eye, give it an eye. Don't give it 12 sensors and a radar and all this other fancy nonsense. Just give it one big eye. The Cycloptean Thug. And I love that marching in him. I mean, just look how, like, they definitely look more robotic, to say the very least. They look much more robotic than they used to look a little bit more human. Is that the word for it? Zipping across the map right here to witness the death of the Green Commander. The Thugs march forward, and the Brutes can't defend in time, as the Hot Pink Commander, or Light Pink Commander rather, does manage to snipe the Green Commander, blowing up a whole bunch of the static defenses and a giant portion of that army. This is a great situation right here for our Pink Chronic 07, who just needs to move forward, produce a bunch of units, and should be perfectly fine to steamroll this side of the map. How you leverage this into an advantage? It's not by going into tech. Surprisingly, at least for Cortex anyways, you simply build more construction power and pump out about as many of these thugs as you possibly can. We already have a huge energy advantage because we've got these solar panels and, oh, we don't have the geothermal up yet. That's another good use of that metal. But for the time being, I mean, this is just a lovely spot right here. You can also use a bunch of this metal to go ahead and build a bunch of resbots. 5 or 6 resbots can be enough to continue this push indefinitely. Chronic just needs to start reclaiming right here. I mean, just even without the commander, there is still, what is that, 1,400 metal worth of reclaim from the units, and then another 1,500 or 1,250 there from the commander itself. Maybe unaware, but if you hit the reclaim button, hold shift, and then left click and drag, you can highlight a spherical or a circular origin point, and around which your commander will reclaim everything. It's a really easy way of defining where you want to be reclaiming from. Oh, not being careful, those brutes. Thugs trying to defend the commander's actually way out in the open. These thugs are not spaced properly enough, so they're not actually using all their firepower, and they're not focusing fire on these units either. Do we have a D-gun? Oh, a little bit off target. Ugh. Very scary here for Chronic 07. Suddenly down to 27% HP. The reinforcements are a little bit slow to arrive at the moment. This is very shaky, but I think eventually this is an advantage for the Pink Commander. It's just going to take some time. HLT went down right here, by the way. The thugs and aggravators blasting it apart before it can really get enough value here. Missile trucks just putting on the pressure on the southern side, and then we have Wolverines putting on some pressure on the northern side here, trying to push back against the Blue Commander, who's had the luxury of contributing basically all of their force to this southern side. This is exactly what I'm talking about, right? You lean a little bit on your teammate's side just to relieve some of their pressure, and once you've won that side, they can help you out in turn, and you kind of leapfrog off each other. Just like we were talking about the HLTs earlier that defend each other as you expand, so too should the commanders. But okay, we've gone for static defenses across the board, so we'll just write it off as everybody going for static defenses, so it roughly about cancels out here. We've got double agitators, okay. This is, when I see someone going for an agitator, I just put down my T2 lab. I just start the T2 lab immediately. That's 1,300 metal worth of non-production. I mean, you start up your T2 lab, or at the very least, you dump 1,300 metal into more units on the front line. This army composition alone is 2,200. You could effectively double the size of this army just by putting 1,300 metal into it. So that's, you know, rather than expending it on here, you could expend it there. You'd take some losses, for sure, but you would blast apart this whole army and the static defenses, and then you get all that reclaim, and that's well and away more than 1,300. Just some quick math for you. And obviously, you gotta take quick math done by somebody recording a YouTube video with a huge grain of salt. But I promise if you work the numbers out yourself, you'll find that they're about the right number, too. But okay, we're not going to push with reinforcements. Instead, we're going to push into this heavily defended position, and that is not ideal. No aggravators in the mix here either, so we're kind of lacking that long-range firepower that we desperately need. The thugs are trying, and fighting up the hill is hard, but there's only 2 thugs on this northern side. One of the easiest ways to win this over at this point is just going to be the D-gun. I think we need to get the commander over into position. Cloak it, cloak it. Ooh. We have the E-storage, so we will be able to cloak it and move it in. Oh, this could be potential for a tremendous D-gun right here. We need to see a huge connection. Radar jammer only extends so far, so that commander's going to be forced to hide. Do we have radar detection over here? We sure do. Yeah, that dot is revealed, and the commander has run out of energy at this point. Yep. Gets in range, though. Yeah, okay, we're going to start firing him off. Nice D-guns right there, cleaving apart tons of metal worth of units. Have we gotten enough, though? Ooh, commander goes down.
Commander destroyed.
It's quite good, and the HLT will be nice to defend this a little while longer, but it's not going to be enough all on its own here. The agitator might be enough. The HLT trying desperately here, but really it is so difficult to get value out of those. Units have to be in position and essentially static. Not entirely static, but it benefits from having non-mobile targets, but my goodness. Agitator goes down just moments before completion, and that is 1,300 metal evaporated into quite thin air. Yikes. Gauntlet on this southern side here as well for the green commander, who's also defended a giant push over here and now has a couple thousand metal lying on the floor. Not to mention reaching out with this thing and firing away. Fat Boy slowly waddling its way out towards the fronts. Herb approach 420. The yellow commander going to be sending some of those juicy T2 reinforcements out as we upgrade to those T2 metal extractors. Not bad. At this point, I would like to see this T2 con handed over. There's not really a reason to produce any more. You can hand one to the pink commander and then, of course, one to the brown commander. And after that, you're basically good. An extremely bombable base, I will say here. Both of the air players very shy this game. No significant air action from either one of them. Certainly a risky situation. Pubis. Oh, Pubis. We need a cloak. Oh, we need a cloak on that commander. We are taking heavy hits. Like, legitimately heavy hits. Why is there a cloak on this? Oh, no. Yikes. Okay. Just a moment away from me almost caster cursing it by saying that the red commander had effectively won this lane by taking down the powder blue commander. All of a sudden, we've handed back 1,000 metal or so. It's suddenly recoverable. Now, this could be managed ever so slightly better. Those resbots are going to steal away 1,000 of that metal. Nicely done. Even though we might lose them at some point here, they already paid for themselves. You can see this was probably about 600 metal worth of red spots. They reclaimed double that just eating one of these commander corpses. Where's our production? Why are we... Oh, I see. I see. So, without reclaiming either of those corpses, we've now horribly metal stalled here for the powder blue commander, who was hoping to get a bunch of that metal, but actually didn't have the res bots in position preemptively for that trade. It's a difficult thing to learn, but it is a fundamental part of Beyond All Reason. Build the resbot before your push. Your engagements will all start to look quite a bit better. Reaper Queen. Getting blasted by the Centurion, but the Fat Boy there will solve that issue. 30% HP remaining and a gauntlet up on the high ground now set up. Once you have those T2 mexes up and running, buying a gauntlet is not the end of the... Oh, we don't have those T2 mexes up and running. Okay. An issue, certainly. We have a constructor here. Yeah, Reaper Queen not aware that there was a con handed over right here. I see. That is a new mistake if ever I've seen one. No shame, we all gotta start somewhere. One of the earliest things you pick up on is when that T2 constructor hits your backline. Even I find myself not noticing a lot of the time, but still. Once you see that T2 con, you almost always want to go ahead and start up those T2 metal extractors. It's basically always worth it. Ugh, not liking the situation right here, though. Suddenly we've got no metal, a T2 lab halfway done. This is a really rough situation. Where was the T2 on this side? We're going for eco scaling. We've got Sheldon coming out of the very least. Those are going to be alright at dealing with the thugs as they slowly march forward. But we've essentially sacrificed the powder blue commander on the northern side here to try and solve the thug march issue. The difference, ladies and gentlemen, between making units and making eco. Now the red commander has the luxury of just spending a little bit of metal on eco. We're going to go for some E-storages, of course, and I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'm hoping that we're going to see a T2 con handed over eventually as well. Beluga the Narwhal with tons of solar panels. Look at these giant T1 armies. Sometimes nice to take a step back and just appreciate the beauty of it all. The incomprehensible horrors of war on an unparalleled scale. The commander being, what was it, 10 meters tall, so 30 feet tall. Means these are like 10 feet tall at the minimum. Probably closer to 15. Or, you know, 5 meters tall. For all the Imperials out there. It's not that I hate this engagement with the T1 here. They are still fighting T1. It's the fact that the result of this engagement will indefinitely, or will almost always, result in a gigantic wreckage field. And that's the kind of situation you don't want to find yourself losing, right? This basically is an all-in for the Hot Pink Commander, who's basically put all the metal into a bunch of T1 units, and if those T1 units die, they get reclaimed by the blue team here, as you can see, already working away at it. Medium tanks leaking through as well. And there you go, you've effectively donated several thousand metal worth of units. Medium tanks leaking through on this side as well, very nice. Caught in a little bit of a timing attack here, as the medium tanks do just barely find their opportunity to slip into the main base right here of the light pink commander and then sneak past the hot pink commander, as now we see them heading towards these wind turbines on the northern side. Base on the southern side, loads of trouble. Maroon and hot pink facilities, both in a lot of trouble as well. D-gun? D-gun? No D-gun. A common and fatal occurrence, the 0 D-gun. Beautiful chain reaction on the wind turbines right there. Construction turrets likely to face a similar fate. Ooh, actually not microed. Okay. Tanks get absorbed. De-atomized. Oh, there we are. We still have a little bit of push on the southern side here, too. Yeah, Centurion's coming up. Looks like the Gauntlet is taking some hits. Fat Boy. Super nice for clearing out chaff like this. We actually have a lack of swarm, anti-swarm weapons. Oh, wow. Oh, no. So much friendly fire damage from the Fat Boy right there. The Flat Boy. Anything but the Flat Boy. Brown Commander getting involved in this engagement too, but must be running pretty low. Yeah, it's 76% HP. Those Centurions don't mess around. Commander does eventually clean all this up, though, and that's, again, more and more metal that can be dumped onto this front line. Still no T2. We are eventually building them, but dedicating an extra constructor or two would not be the end of the world. Fighter clash, finally, as some bombers are, well, up and running, and they've been trying to clear out a bunch of the enemy forces. Meant that the fighters got to fight each other here, too, but now that the tank commanders won the air battle, my main question, of course, is why aren't we going across and bombing? Looks like we're thinking about it. The bombers are moving around ever so slightly. By the way, it looks like, who would that be? The Maroon Commander has tapped out of this game right here. Throwing in the towel early. Shame on you. Are they still in the chat? I don't even remember their name. Let them be forgotten in the annals of history as a quitter, and have brought shame upon their team here. At the slightest touch of their base by medium tank, they folded. Not the kind of guy you want on your team anyway. It's probably a net benefit for the red team. I've realized I've been way too lenient with leavers and quitters. I've got to be much harsher on them. Yeah. Leaving a game when you're the last base alive against 8 players, totally understandable. Leaving a game when there are still 8 players alive. Maybe they put a justification in chat, but otherwise, for shame. For shame upon thee. What a lovely push right here. Hot Pink Commander takes advantage of those medium tanks and says, don't mind if I do. Puts them right on through to the backline, pops the T2 laboratory as well as one of the T2 metal extractors here. Whole bunch of the frontline defenses and the T2 constructor as well go down, all worth mentioning. Welders and Shuriken going to be able to clean all this up eventually. Nice response right there. No response from the Air Forces, despite still having air control. It's another one of those things where if you have the game sense to know that you have the air control, this could actually be prevented. You could shoot these Shuriken down, and then of course you see that your fighters aren't being shot out of the air because, well, you've killed the enemy Shuriken force. You just send your bombers in. You could wipe out all these frontline defenses, or you could take out these backline bases, all of which super, super valuable, super keen targets. The lack of the use of the fat boys on the front here has really upset me, though, I can't lie. This will be the second fat boy to hit the brown front line on the southern side here. And it really doesn't make any sense why we're not supporting this with a bunch of welders or something and pushing. We have so far been using the fat boy to counter a tick span. Games like these present the best learning opportunities, but also some of the most mind-boggling decision-makings. Giant Sheldon ball on the northern side here. 8,000 metal Sheldon ball. Effectively countered by 4 or 5 bombers. With no anti-air in the mix here. And very densely clumped together. But until said bombers arrive or some other solution does arise, a spy bot, for instance, could be another one. These Sheldon are basically going to own this northern side. There they go, firing away whenever they can at a whole bunch of these tank units. We have Janices and medium tanks mixed in. Not a bad composition. You do have to be careful that they don't friendly fire each other. The Janus more so than anything else. Mammoth is out and crawling its way forward as well. It might be what we're waiting for to push with these Sheldon, but again, we're up to like 10,000 metal worth of Sheldon. Over 12,000 metal worth of Sheldon here. It's time to push. Yeah, gunslingers in position as well are perfect against the medium tanks right here. This is an easy cleanup for the blue team on the northern side. Effectively just a bunch of wasted metal. This is the reason why eating up those T1 units in the late game isn't a bad idea. Just send them back to your laboratory. You've got the build power. It's already localized. Just park all your units over here. Use control and then tilde to remove them from your auto group. Destroyed. And then you can just go ahead and eat them up, and it's very, very efficient. We are pushing forward with the Sheldon. They're super fixated on that one spot for some reason. They will eventually blast all this down, though. So many of them firing that it doesn't even matter. 80% of their shots miss. The 20% that connect is still enough to kill basically everything. Shuriken's still having such an effect here. Really, really nice stuff. That's, of course, the Cyan Commander lying in its own grave right there. But at the end of the day, I mean, Fat Boys are already on the field. Shuriken are super nice for cleaning all this up. No response from the air player, so they get away with it, too. Janet's connecting with the medium tanks. Bombers trying to take out the Mammoth is interesting. I don't particularly hate it, I don't think. It's kind of a wet noodle fight, right? Like, the Mammoth does barely any damage to air. It technically can damage air, but I feel like air does basically the same thing. They can kind of tickle this Mammoth's HP down, but it way overexposes your bombers. The Mammoth is effectively disposable. The bombers are super useful to have around. Fighters do now latch onto them. They're going to start working away at them. Defensive fighters here and their T2 does mean that I think eventually the enemy fighter wave will be cleaned up. And again, the question becomes, why aren't we sending the bombers across the map to do some real damage? One of those game sense things. It comes to you eventually, but it is difficult to learn. It really only comes by playing the game. Nice connections right there, my goodness. The Tsars hit like absolute trucks, and I suppose they are. The waterfall of Sheldon doing a good job. Oh, I thought I might get a juicy connection, but no such luck. Suddenly, we've got a huge joint force right here. The tick spam is wonderful for providing vision, of course. The gunslingers are sturdy in a strange sort of way. Just their ability to regenerate means as long as they don't die, they will be full health for the next fight and slightly more experienced, i.e. slightly better. This push could go on to win the game if we send it across to win the game right now. There's also, again, very obvious counters to this, right? 2 or 3 spy bots can shut down everything here. Spy bots nerfed recently, so you have to be a little bit more choosy about how you use them and a little bit more careful about how you activate them in what order. But another easy one, of course, would just be bombers. Do we have any anti-air in the mix? I don't see anti-air now. Anti-air bots also receiving their rework means they're quite a bit better as well. Yeah, Zar tank's trying, but they just can't get close enough. The Sheldon effectively counter the Zar. We've got loads of T2 gunships, by the way. The Wasp gunships in the air are going to be perfect for shutting down any kind of run-bys that do happen. Radar is mixed into this composition right here. Sheldon should be able to see that commander. Well. Oh, nice D-guns right there. Beautiful D-guns of that commander. Blowing apart that composition wonderfully. I think eventually it will pay with its life, but definitely killed like 6,000 metal worth of these units, yeah. Yeah, about 6,000 metal worth of Sheldon in 2 or 3 D-guns right there. Beautiful stuff. Maybe a self-D a little earlier might have wiped out even more, but you cannot be mad at a trade like that. Slows this down at the very least, even though this is still a substantial pushing force. The Lavender commander isn't confident enough. You can tell by back and forth, and then the way that these units aren't spread out. Destroyed. Lavender definitely not super confident with microing these units here. Commander, oh, is over here on this side. Okay. The powder pink commander falls. We're still sending rocket bots in. We're up to T2 at this point. We may well get into T3 at some point in this game as well. I hope, anyways. And we are sending rocket bots to their doom on the front lines. Best advice I can give you is to abandon your T1 at some point. It's not worth it. Huge production boost right here. Oh, I see. We're going for a T2 air constructor. We're deconstructing the T1, or the T2 land for a T2 air constructor. As we go ahead and put some more of those E-converters down over on this side. Double fusion now means that the Seafoam Green Commander, the Green Falcon, has enough energy, has enough production to actually go into some proper airplay. Starting to get to those levels where you can even go for dragons and the like. The really, really high-tech tools. Nice fusion reactor scaling on the northern side here. Yeah, I gotta give it to the blue team. They have the eco advantage across the board at this point. Largely because they've denied so much of this map from the red team. The metal extractors, the run-bys to damage the bases, all that stuff adds up, right? And it does eventually compound. But now the blue team has about a 50% energy advantage. Metal advantage still fluctuating with res and reclaim and all that, but for production anyways, the blue team does still have the lead.
Commander destroyed.
That's the green commander down on the southern side here. It looks like those fat boys finally realized that they can actually... Never mind. I was hoping we'd see some fat boys. No fat boys to be found here. Instead, Sheldon marching forward. We have a counter spam. And I'm glad to see it. I'm glad that we finally realized that we were effectively countering a bunch of T1 units. And it's not hard to do. You can send 4 Sumo forward. I think that would have worked here as well. The Sheldon, and I have to imagine the fat boys got D-gun because I don't see them anywhere here. Yeah. A couple of Sumo would have probably done about the same job. But either way, glad to see we're making some progress. A stupendous hold from the red commander, who's managed to, yeah, keep control over this side of the map. That's a nuclear strike. Boom goes the blue base right there. All of the backline production does fall. Luckily, we still have a few constructors out here. We can rebuild into this game, but that is a woozy for Roosley. The blue commander now all of a sudden sent back to the Stone Ages and gonna have to try and rebuild from the ashes. I mean, you may as well just move the production, right? Like, at this point, not a lot of point in moving the production back there, other than grabbing those T2 mexes. But, yeah, Roosley now gonna be effectively turned off. There's not a lot that we can do. The Resbots don't have the energy to reclaim, or to resurrect, rather. Wouldn't even mind seeing a lot of these units just handed off here. Oh, friendly fire. So careful about that friendly fire. This push has petered out here as well for some reason. This is great. Rocket bots killing a T2 base at the 28th minute of the game. There are so many options for rockets. The T1 rocket bot, among them, one of the worst. And even still, these rocket bots here with a collective, what, 11 kills or something before they started to die. Exploding themselves on the enemy wind turbines. Truly a beautiful sight to behold. Banishers discorporating the welders that were trying to, well, slowly waddle forward here. Resbots have reclaimed all this metal. Hey, nicely done right here by Pro Ace X1. Making the best use of those resbots. It was a little shaky early on, but those resbots have really come back around to be super useful. Oh, accidentally reclaiming the T2 max. Probably should have res that, but anyways. Other than that, oh, another nuke. There it is. They pinged the bottom base, but the nuke was right there on the purple commander's base. Frontline production goes down. It does mean the backline, well, okay, we do actually have the anti-nuke up and running. Just wasn't quite charged yet, but another huge nuke for the yellow commander. How many kills does this thing have at this point? 60 confirmed kills. Not really as many as I was thinking, actually. Didn't really hit those wind turbine farms, I suppose. We're now in a weird state, too, where the hot pink commander is content to just kind of let this section of the map be, sending more and more forces up towards the northern side to try and shut that down. But it does mean that run-bys are super viable. And the gunships, my goodness. Why aren't we just sending these? I mean, clearly the enemy doesn't have fighters. We would have shot these down with the fighters long, long ago. Okay, we're pulling them back. You can probably hear in my voice that I'm frustrated to see the waste of these very, very good gunships here. 30 of these Wasp gunships, 11,000 metal worth of them. I mean, they can be just as effective as a handful of dragons. More so in certain circumstances. Using them to clean up the T1 is just kind of... I mean, I don't want to say it's a waste, but it feels a little bit like a waste. And this guy is a hero right here. The light anti-air tower with 3 confirmed kills. Firing away into the distance. Doing a little bit of AoE damage too, and so it is chipping away at these. We're just not watching our units. This is sad to see. The slowest push ever with the gunships right here. Could have killed this base 3 or 4 times over at this point. Finally getting on top of the anti-air, but my goodness. Not really even, it's just sort of happenstance that we're getting on top of the anti-air. Enough time, by the way, to build actual proper anti-air. Cerberus set up in the geothermal position. Love that decision. Agitator, effectively worthless. Let's reclaim it. Tiger tanks rolling forward. The pointless hound. Wasting metal and wasting breath. I've got strong feelings about the hound. Is it fair to see that it's underpowered? Is the hound underpowered at the moment? I mean, I feel like that's fair. Usually you only ever hear balanced complaints about overpowered units, but the hound definitely feels like it's, yeah, a little less than that. The gunships lost this fight, by the way. They all got shot out of the air. They didn't even kill the gauntlet. We have 7 HP remaining right here. Another nuke connects! My goodness, we're 3 nukes into this game, and the blue team still hasn't built enough anti-nuclear defense to keep themselves safe. We do have the anti-nuke, but it just isn't charged. It wasn't built in time. It only just finished up a second ago, and now we've got the ticks sprinting into the backline. I gotta give it to the blue team for their eco. It definitely scaled much more exponentially here than the red team, but the red team has just been attacking. They decided to use their units, spend them in locations where they're valuable, and then of course put them in spots where they can have a huge impact. Now the anti-air tearing apart this air wall. This is another great move. I'm seeing more and more great moves from the red team, despite being pushed back, despite being a player down, despite having all of these huge advantages stacked against them. They're winning this game. They're winning this game at a disadvantage. Look at the anti-air bots, my goodness. I was complaining about anti-air earlier on, so I guess I'm not mad to see this, but it is a huge investment to go into this many of these anti-airs. 20 manticores, costing more than the Sheldon ball. Okay, not quite as much as the Sheldon ball. Sheldon are so expensive. 24,000 metal in order to build this Sheldon ball. It would be splendid to watch that all go to smoke from like 2 nuclear bombers. Gunships friendly firing here as the ticks sneak past the defenses. The Scorpion turrets do a huge burst of single target damage. A little bit of overkill against the ticks, though. AA-bots now chipping away at these as well. Lovely stuff. Man, the yellow commander going for good moves. Sending the AA-bots in, sending the tick spam in, realizing that this army is effectively worthless against ticks. And we basically ended up in a situation where we're killing this army with... I mean, this is where the efficiency comes from. We're killing an army that is several thousand times more expensive with an army that costs pennies. 21 metal per tick. And they're doing much more damage to these Sheldon than the Sheldon have done this entire game. And we are launching another nuke. Let's get a real good shot of this one. Bombs away. Headed up into the air at a high altitude and crashing back down on top of the blue team. I've lost sight of it. There it is. Oh, anti-nuke finally catches it. Okay, alright. Finally barely catches it, so we will, at the very least, finally see the blue team defend against one of those. What can the fighters do, though? I mean, if the fighters want to fight this, they have to fly over tons of anti-air on the ground. That's just phenomenal. I love the boost that the ground anti-air got. I don't know exactly what it was, but it seems to be quite good. Because they seem to be able to do their job properly now. I think it was an air vision range. I think they can shoot their AA missiles quite a bit further. Yeah, look how far those are actually shooting. That is pretty impressive. Yeah. It means that they can be much more effective in their anti-air role, especially for shutting down bombers if there are bombers coming towards them. Whereas before, they were effectively countered by air. A little bit of a paradox. I will point out the blue team still has the resource advantage. T3 moving in on this northern side. That's what we need in order to shut this down. Those Banisher Bolts can be super annoying to deal with, very difficult. The Shiva here are going to be the perfect tool for cracking all this. Oh, nuclear bomber. Bombs away. No air response. We do have a single anti-air bot firing away now, trying to shut this down. Love the response here from the bombers. And the red team playing as a team, aren't they? In every way, just playing as a team together. The blue team feeling super disjointed. These Sheldon have made the long march. All the way from the northern down to the southern side. I mean, you could just split these up, just hand these over. Select all these and hand them to one of these two commanders, and this can go win the front side. We've got the Centurions for tanking. Just send the Sheldon on their way. Green Commander not out of this yet, by the way. Still holding out hope. Yeah, the Shiva, I mean, without any proper anti-air, the Shiva are basically worthless. We do have Manticores marching out now, so those will eventually be in position to help out. But they take time, right? They take a lot of time to get out there to the front. Nice job from the Shiva, though. I mean, holding this front line very, very nicely. Scorpion turret taking some damage. Blast by blast. Oh, friendly fire damage, actually. Lovely stuff. Yeah, okay. Take some friendly fire and flanking bonus damage from the ticks running by. Our Seafoam commander, the Green Falcon, has realized that the air wall was flying over anti-air and moved it over. Lost a bunch of good fighters, but at the very least now is still stockpiling them once more. With an advantage like this, the red team would really do well to move out on the map a little bit more aggressively. All these metal extractors that are unclaimed right here, there's a whole bunch of them in the midsection of the map. There's a bunch on this side as well. We've already won. Reclaim as well is super valuable, and we've got the T1 laboratory, so it's not like we can't tech back into it. Eco looking pretty good here as well. We've got some APHIS and some fusions, slightly inefficient, but obviously nothing to really get up in a twist about. That's still very, very nice, and enough to produce a lot of units right here for the blue, or for the red team, for the yellow commander on the southern side of the red team. Question is, when are we gonna go? The Sheldon Ball has reconvened on this northern side. Man, I'm just waiting for the bomber connection against this. Oh, well, there's one. Bombers do connect with one of the commanders over here on the southern side. Means all the fighters are pulled in that direction. Anti-air are going to start chipping away at those once more. Sheldon Ball moving in. Okay, we've got our target. We're going to go after these guys instead. A fair target, the T3. Super dangerous. Obviously valuable to go after them. But isn't this just the juiciest target known to Armada T2 nuclear bomber kind? Hold on, let me grab this really quickly, just so we can do a quick comparison. Look at the size of that bombing radius, and then look at the size of this Sheldon Ball. I mean, it is almost 1-to-1. I'm only saying. I'm only saying. The opportunity is ginormous. Beluga the Narwhal, one of 4 commanders remaining right here for the red team. Not building any static defenses or anything, which might be an issue later on as these rovers start to, or rascals rather, start to leak in.
Commander destroyed.
Well, doesn't take much to kill one of those commanders, and oh, I don't know, 61,000 metal worth of Sheldon. 149 Sheldon. Yeah, that'll just about do it. Oh, there it is! Oh, nice connection. Okay, we chip away a part of that here. Light anti-air in the form of the AA from these Jaguar tanks. Oh, we gotta go back for another round, right? Fighters come across. Yeah, it's gonna scare the whole ball back. Oh, no. The whole Sheldon ball is gonna be scared backwards here. Actually, really light anti-air right now from the red team. Uh-oh. This should be your wake-up call. This is the moment where you have to really think, if the enemy fighters can linger over our bases like this, it means there's definitely not enough anti-air. Not to mention, of course, the beautiful scout that these fighters would have just provided right here. Everyone knows everywhere that the enemy is. The enemy knows where you're at by subtracting where you were from where you aren't. Seafoam Green Shiva now heading on the southern side here. Huge props to the Green Falcon for not only winning the air battle, but also eventually teching into T3. Now, while the nuclear bomber is nice, you can achieve the same effect with 2 or 3 of those heavy bombers. Positioned properly right over this composition, they'd be able to knock basically all of this down. 63,000 metal worth of Sheldon. I mean, I think it would probably be one of the most efficient trades in Beyond All Reason. Aside from the D-gun, which I feel like should probably just be excluded for having no metal cost. Oh, the shower of parts! The nuclear missile connects in a shower of parts. 149 or so Sheldon gone in an instant with a thermonuclear flash. 61,000 metal evaporates from the front line. A gigantic nuclear connection right there for the red team. They were moments away from destruction. I mean, really on the cusp of devastation, as though Sheldon would have spelled the end for everything over here. What a beautiful nuclear missile right there from our yellow hero, Herb Approach 420, who I just know is giggling in their chair, looking at the kill count for that nuke all of a sudden skyrocketing. 257 kills, and the majority of them, 140 of them or so, are all Sheldons that were just obliterated. It does not get better than that. I mean, I was talking about bombing runs, but that is basically the next best thing. Fiends now moving into the base here. Sheldon besieging this outpost. We do have the LLTs to try and defend against this, but of course, those T1 statics not going to do much against the ever-encroaching T2 force. Everybody trying to fire away into the distance, get some value. These are all plasma forces, so they're going to struggle with this bubble shield a little bit. It is nice, though, because it does mean that we're going to start draining the energy on this thing. It's a huge energy drain. 500 energy per second to keep one of these recharging. Definitely protecting the Hot Pink Commander quite nicely, though, I will say. Here's the fighters. Once more, just doing a flyover. Here we go. Here's the heavy bombers. Lined up on the APHIS. Boom goes the APHIS for the Hot Pink Commander. Lining up on the air pad right here for the Tan Commander. Handful of those heavy bombers connect. The air pad goes down. Retargeting now to try and take down the anti-air. Oh, and the commander right next to it all. Boom goes the commander and the anti-air. Hot Pink Commander falls here as well to the, well, rebuilt Sheldon ball. Rebuilt Sheldon ball, by the way, now up to 47 of those Sheldon. APHIS stack for the yellow commander pops as well. And my goodness. It took a good long while before the Seafoam Green Commander was ready to send those units across. But the instant that they did come across, the game was turned. Another nice nuke right there. Connects with the Sheldon, connects with the reinforcing Sheldon. Demons and Karganet now thinking maybe it was time to push 4 or 5 minutes ago, as every single base has been turned into atomized mist. MVP of the game. If the Green Falcon doesn't earn the cow, I don't know what else deserves it. Eliminating almost single-handedly the entirety of the blue team here with no the red team here with no anti-air defenses in place. They ultimately had it coming. There was plenty of foreshadowing with all these bases having fighters flying over them and no anti-air to shoot it all down. This was, as they say, inevitable. Keep pushing, keep pushing. Well, we've stopped at the precipice of victory. Mere moments away from discovering the... Oh no, we already have scouted the fusion reactors. Something even was already scouting these. Oh no, there we go. We haven't scouted them quite yet. We know the lab is over here. We don't know about the fusion reactors. Does it even matter, though? I don't think so. Yeah, Titan in the backline. Commander was already killed, so this Titan is perfectly safe. Fusion reactors going to chain react into each other, and LLT, the hero LLT, will do 0% damage to the Titan. Spectacular. Hey, the gunship's coming out now. The ghosts of a formerly impressive gunship army that once terrorized these skies on the southern side. A nice hold on as well for the Seafoam or the Lime Green commander, who also built tons of static defenses, the Scorpion turrets, all that in order to hold off this spam. Green commander, dark green commander, still holding on in this game as well. Very cool to see. Yeah, this game is over. The red team definitely had an opportunity there, but they just didn't really quite take advantage of it. There was opportunities to put pressure on the southern side. There was opportunities with those nukes that cracked some of the bases. They just never really got their units into position in the right place at exactly the right time. The blue team, however, had the eco advantage, and they continued scaling quite nicely. They used their air forces to devastating effect. And well, this is where that leads. An eventually one-sided outcome here, with all the blue team's bases remaining more or less intact, and the red bases falling by the hundreds. GG. What a fun matchup beyond our reason. Some juicy connections of all juicy connections. Watching those Sheldon get evaporated. That was 61,000 metal worth of Sheldon. I mean, that might be a record for Armada nuclear value as far as units are concerned. Thanks a ton for watching, folks. Let's have a look at the stats, where indeed we will see. You know what I'm really curious about is the damage dealt. Yeah, look at that. Look at the spike for the Seafoam Green Commander with basically nothing, and then starts doing a little more damage. Huge jump in damage, and continue doing damage throughout the rest of the game. I think this is where the bombers started to really hit. Yellow Commander with similar spikes here as well. Lovely, lovely stuff. Thanks a ton for watching, folks. I sure hope you enjoyed the game, and I hope to see you again in the very next match of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.